Right, good morning, University of Pretoria. Can you all hear me? Just pop a note in the chat and let me know that you can hear me loud and clear, and then we can get started. Great to see we got a couple of people coming on stream. Wonderful to be talking to University of Pretoria this morning, and I'm thrilled to have the opportunity to share a couple of thoughts with you this morning on two topics which I've testing mic. Testing. Testing. Can you guys hear me? Just pop a note to confirm, please. Great. Lindo Kushle Umkumalo. Yes, you can hear me. Great. Super. Thanks, Marley. Thanks, Calvin. Thanks, Nicole. That's great news, guys. I really appreciate that you can just confirm that we're on stream and doing well. And yeah, that's great. Thank you, Tanya. Really appreciate that. So, guys, yeah, we've got a bit of time together this morning. Just really a privilege to say hello to University of Pretoria. I remember a few years ago I was up there giving a guest lecture to the MIT class. I think it was all about agile software engineering, and I've been working at FMB a number of years, and a few of my team were in that course, and I was invited by one of the lecturers to come and give a lecture there about agile software development. But this morning we're going to be talking about different subjects. We're going to be talking about writing and employability. And writing is something I've spent a lot of time on. I've been running a postgraduate workshop at Wits University for about 5 years. I've put a number of courses together, and I'm going to take you through some practical steps that you can take to write better at a university level. And that'll be in the first half of our webinar this morning. And then in the second half, we're going to be looking at how to improve your employability. So what that really means is, when you leave university, have you positioned yourself in the best possible way to get employed, to get into the company that you want, and then from there to make some good progress in your career. So I think we're getting a couple more people coming on board, and then we'll get started. So just confirm you can all hear and see. and very good morning to everybody who has joined. All right, so I think we're all good to go with audio-visual up and running, and we've got, a few more people joining, so 32 people coming on board, which is fantastic. So great to see if we can get through these important topics. Thank you, Tanya, I really appreciate that. Thank you, Kopana. I'm glad I'm audible, and I must say we've all adapted to our lockdowns this year, and we've all had to run our meetings from home, and typically I'm in a room, either a lecture hall, lecturing to students, or at work in a workshop, and I have people that I can physically see and I can read body language. So we've all had to adapt to this new way of working. But that's how coronavirus has hit us all this year, and we'll adapt as we go. So just first of all, by way of introduction, my name is Peter Alkema, and I run the Student Success Coach YouTube channel and members only Facebook group. And you'll see all the links to that in some of the YouTube videos. You can hop on there. We've got a very active group there, and we just encourage each other, we support each other. Any questions that you've got, it's often just a good neutral space to hang out and shoot the breeze and find out what other students are up to, and typically what challenges they've got. And often it's got to do with, is it writing, is it doing your proposal, is it getting your final report done, is it building relationships with supervisors, etc. I also have a number of courses on Udemy, and I'm going to talk about 2 of those this morning. There's a few others there related to a couple of other topics. You can always go and browse those if you want to have a look. And then hopefully you can see the screen there on the left-hand side. Was my graduation from home earlier this year. I completed my PhD at WITS, but of course because of the lockdowns we didn't have a physical graduation, which was obviously quite a disappointment. I think if you've been studying at a postgraduate level or even at an undergraduate level, you certainly have this expectation that you're going to have a ceremony, and you're going to be able to go up in front of your family and be recognized for the hard work that you've been through, but nonetheless it was still very special for me to have the celebration at home, and for my family to be around me, and we just had a small quiet dinner at home to recognize that milestone. And I certainly hope and pray that for you guys, as you get to the end of your studies, I'm sure we'll be back to normal physical ceremonies, and that you'll be able to get that recognition in front of your peer group. So just double checking, can you see the intro slide, please? Thank you very much. Just want to double check that you can see that introductory slide for us that I've got there, and then I can just be absolutely certain that you're having a look at the right things. Just needing to make sure the technology is working perfectly for us this morning. Okay, so just drop a note in the chat there and let me know if you can see that introductory slide. That would be very helpful indeed. Thanks so much. Okay, let's get cracking. I think we've still got a few more people coming on board. We've got 38 people on board with our webinar this morning. So just a reminder, University of Pretoria, absolutely great to be spending some time this morning, and I'm really hoping that I'm going to be able to deliver some value for you. You'll be able to take away some actionable steps, some things that you can do starting today to improve your writing, number 1, which is crucial to your studies, and then number 2, to improve your employability. And what that means is your chances of getting the job that you want, and then once you've got that job, to then be able to make the progress in the career of your choice. Okay, so fantastic. Let's get cracking then. And really, the first topic that we talk about this morning is why we write, and we write to communicate. And I was giving a whiteboard lesson the other night, and I reflected that when we have thank you very much, Kapana. Thank you very much for all that. Congratulations. I appreciate that, and I hope that I'll be able to give you the same congratulations back. And I really hope that you'll be able to post a picture for us on the Facebook group in your gown and celebrating your special day. And really, that really is so important when you think about writing, because the higher that you get in a university level and in your academic career, the more important it gets to be able to write effectively. Thank you, Bono Kwake. Very kind of you. Thank you, and look forward to congratulating you as well. So we write to communicate, but at a university level, we write. Thanks, Murray. We write so that we can be assessed on the work that we've done. And the higher that you get, you're starting to actually create knowledge. You're starting to actually make a contribution to your field. But I want you to think about if you go and have a conversation with your friend in the coffee shop, and one day we will be able to mingle again, and we won't have all the social distancing. But when you're having that conversation, you have the luxury of real-time feedback. And as you communicate, you get some feedback on what you've said, and you can improve and adjust what it is that you're saying to ensure that you're being understood. And when we write in an academic context, we don't have that luxury of that real-time feedback. We have to write in a way that is unambiguous and meaningful and clear as we go. And it's going to be your supervisors, it's going to be your examiners, it's going to be your peer group that are going to pick up your writing in batches. And when you hand that work in, you're going to need to make sure that your writing is of a very good quality, so that you help the reader to digest and to understand what it is that you're trying to communicate, and so that you can deliver the most amount of value through your academic writing. And then you can see we have sort of high hopes of going into varsity and celebrating that graduation, as we spoke about. Thanks very much, Matsalana. Thanks, Amanda. Thanks, Arinola. Appreciate that. Thank you so much, very much for all the congratulations. But the reality is that the vast majority of your time, certainly at a postgraduate level, is going to be spent doing a lot of writing. And you see there that at the end of the day, what you really deliver is all of that writing up to your institution. And very importantly, as an institution, that's how we create knowledge, that's how we contribute. And University of Pretoria, will have a proud tradition of delivering papers and getting published in journals, and they rely on yourselves as students. Thanks, Kabongelo, very kind of you. Yes, it was a very special graduation from home ceremony earlier this year. And at the core of all of that is writing. And if you can get into good habits and good practices about writing, then you'll just continue to be successful. And it's not just in your academic career. You'll go on and in the business world, and I'm sure if you're studying part-time and you've been involved in business, you'll realize the importance of writing, effectively writing to communicate with clarity and meaning. So thanks, Kabongelo. Thanks, Pro, very kind of you. Thanks for letting me know. All right, so let's get into some of those practices. And remember that all of what I'm going to take you through this morning is covered in a lot more detail in the courses, which I'll provide free links to you guys to go in and enroll. And those links will last you for the next 3 days. And once you've gone in and enrolled, you'll have access to those courses forever. And I'm continually updating. In fact, I was recording another new lesson for one of my academics courses last night. So go in there and enroll, and we've got an awesome, vibrant community of students that have done those courses and really value that material and the engagement with each other. So the first of four practices I want to take you through this morning is the importance of real subjects. And it's amazing how, thanks Karoba, appreciate that, congratulations. Yes, I think the chat is slightly delayed on my side of it, not a problem. Yes, replies do seem a little bit delayed. So we'll work that through. I think it's YouTube. It doesn't matter as long as you guys are getting value from it. So the first most important practice is to write with real subjects. And we learned this, thanks Nicole, I appreciate you letting me know that. Is a bit of a time delay, but it looks like we've got nearly 50 people on our webinar this morning, so we are getting some value and we are seeing the slide, and I will pop those free links into the chat for you guys just now. So number one, real subjects. And we learned this at school. A subject is a person, a place, or an object. And yet, when we get to university, we tend to overcomplicate things. And you can see the two sentences there. This is one of the examples that I teach in the course. We just intuitively know that the second sentence there is complex. Thanks, Lorraine. Lorraine. So Lorraine, I think, says that her PhD graduation this afternoon is in absentia from University of Pretoria as well. So Lorraine, congratulations to you. So you're an expert. You should be giving this webinar today. But on this first practice of real subjects, you can see there the difference, and we tend to abstract into very important concepts and thinking, and at university level we're taught also to think deeply and about complex things, but then we forget to make that simple again for our writer, and we all fall into those habits. So really what I'm trying to teach you here is the practice of going back and just being your own editor. So in the second sentence there, you can see that we've complicated this idea of stripping the rainforests, and we've converted those first 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 words almost. Those 10 words as a phrase is the subject of that second sentence. But to get your head around that as a subject is kind of exhausting for the reader. And if you were to just decompose that back down into the most simplest version of the subject, it would just be the rainforests. The rainforests are the subject. And that just simplifies that first sentence quite dramatically there. So look, yes, it is a bit of a school level grammatical lesson, but often good to be reminded of. And we don't have to write in a complex way simply because we're dealing with complex subjects. We should write in a way that our readers can understand and comprehend what we're writing. Okay, so real subjects is the first practice, and then real verbs. This is really just makes sense. We were always taught that describe an action as a verb. A subject does an action on an object, and we have to just get back to that. But let's just understand a little bit. What do we do? What do we tend to do in academic writing? Once again, we abstract away from the real meaning of the word. So we nominalize a verb. So what that means is that we create a noun out of the verb. So instead of just talking about repeating or repeated or repeat in whatever tense it is that you need to use that word, we talk about repetition. And that's abstracted away from the real actual verb. Okay, Elise, thanks. Yeah, let's crack on and get on with the webinar 100%. So the second practice really here is that you must just get back to the core verb that is of the most importance in how you have constructed your sentence, and I've given a couple of examples over there. All right, then the third practice is, and you can see more detail about this one in the next practice in the book called Craft of Research. And the practice that I teach in the postgrad writing workshop at Wits University is this concept of old before new. Now, in example A, you can see two sentences put next to each other, and example B, the same two sentences but slightly rearranged. And the blue, the green, and the red correspond to individual concepts which you're trying to communicate to your reader. Now, in example A, we start with the first concept and then we end on the second concept in green. But then immediately in the very next sentence, we jump into a brand new concept, red. Okay? Now, before the reader has got halfway through the second sentence, we've already bombarded them with three separate concepts. And if you just switch the second sentence around so that you reinforce and repeat the sentence, the concept at the end of the first sentence, then you are both reinforcing that for the reader and you're giving them a chance to digest and to absorb and to understand those concepts before you then introduce that third concept in red, which, if it's at the end of the second sentence, has given them some time to build up to it. And it's all about the subconscious energy of the reader, and are you as the writer respecting the processing that's going on in their mind to understand the concepts that you're presenting to them in your writing. So B is generally a better writing practice for ensuring that you reinforce topics that you have previously communicated to your reader, i.e. talk about old concepts first, reinforce old concepts that your reader is familiar with before you move on to new concepts. And this is, as you're putting paragraphs together, and you're going to have a paragraph with a number of sentences, and you just need to think about how you're arranging the concepts in these sentences in your paragraphs. Because remember, you're going to have pages and pages of paragraphs and sentences, and if you're constantly bombarding your reader with new concepts without giving them a chance to catch up and get used to these concepts, they are going to get tired, and that's when your reader starts to disengage with your writing. And it's not difficult. So a very, very, very simple concept. Just go in and look at your writing and see where you had a tendency to rush your reader by pushing new concepts onto them all the time. And the fourth and final practice that I want to teach you this morning is similar to the previous one. It's the idea of complexity last. So the idea there is that, very similar to old before new, if your red concept there in those two examples of the sentences was your most complex concept, then again you should leave that to last. So that the complex ideas, leave those towards the end of your sentences. Obviously not right at the end of your paragraph or your section. You need to make sure that those are the centerpiece, of those are really how you're building or creating knowledge in your writing. But at the sentence level, just don't push complex ideas onto your reader too quickly. Make sure that you build up to the complex ideas towards the end of the sentences. Alright, so I'm not sure if there's any questions. I know we've got a bit of a delay on the chat, but yes, I think we all can relate to the fact that our thesis or any writing project that we have is written in blood, sweat, tears, and lots of coffee. And I'm sure that with any of those combinations, you're going to get through it. And look, at the end of the day, you've just got to be quite resilient and make sure that you don't give up. But also try and embed these practices and principles in your writing as much as possible. And yes, you need to get through a high volume of writing, but that writing must be high quality. And so what I really tried to communicate this morning and to give you some value in is just how you can embed quality writing practices as you go through your writing project. Alright guys, so we said that in this webinar this morning for the University of Pretoria, we were going to go through two main topics. So we've covered one, which is writing, and the second one we're going to cover is employability. And employability is something that's going to be on all our minds. Obviously, we've suffered terrible lockdowns this year, and economies around the world, and South Africa is no exception, has been under strain. And you really need to make sure that you're positioning yourself in the best possible way to get the job that you want, to get the career of your choice, and to almost be thinking about that even before you actually move out from university and into the workplace. And hopefully, some of you have already had some level of experience in the workplace, and that's good. You must build up some experience, get an understanding for what employers out there are looking for, and get a reality check of how tough it can be to find a job, especially a job that you want, and to start out on a career that is going to give you fulfillment. So I'm going to take you through, the insides of this course, and give you a little bit of a view of what you get when you go through the course, and some of the practical, actionable steps that are contained in the course, which will help you learn how to get the job you want, and then build your career using practical skills and techniques to help you succeed. So the first challenge I think that you've obviously got to get your head around is getting employed. Now you'll have been at University of Pretoria and you will have got a qualification, and that's fantastic. That's going to go on your CV, and that's very important. That qualification that sets you apart, and you're at an outstanding university. So big tick to get that qualification, and use those writing skills to get your qualification, and you'll need many other skills to be successful as a student. But I've got no doubt, like many of us have spoken about on the chat, there's a PhD celebration this afternoon, I believe, for one of the people attending the webinar. It's fantastic. Congratulations. You've got that PhD. You're going to put that on your CV. But the reality is that there's a lot more that goes into actually getting a job. And so in the course, in the first section over here, I put 4 lectures together, just sort of half an hour to take you through, how you can enhance, your positioning and your presence. So there's really a couple of aspects to that. Obviously, getting your CV right, making sure that you apply for jobs with the right level of etiquette. I talk about completing a cover letter, just positioning yourself, packaging yourself. You are your product. A quick story. I studied engineering at University of Witwatersrand, and we didn't have money for me to study, so I managed to get a bursary with ESCOM. So when I left university, I either had to work for them for 4 years, or I had about 150,000 Rand student debt back in those days, about 25 years ago. And so I opted not to work for them, but that meant that I had to pay that debt off. And I didn't really have a plan for that. I was going to have to pay them back over time. So I just started writing out applications, and I found 70 different companies that were on the campus and that were talking to students about jobs. And I literally just wrote 70 job applications and attached my CV. And the first thing I said in that job application was, look, I have 150,000 Rand student debt. I need you to pay it, or I need you to give me a loan, but this is what I have to offer. These are the skills that I have. This is the passion, this is the drive, this is the value that I think I can offer to your company. And the bottom line is, I only really needed one person, one leader, one decision maker, one company to say, yes, we want what it is that you're offering. So I talk about that story a bit more in the course, in the lectures, and the resilience that I needed to get that breakthrough. And you can have that same breakthrough. You'll need to be resilient. I give a little bit of a motivational talk in the course as well, to say that the simple fact of you taking a course, or even being on this webinar this morning, means that you are willing to take action, to make a difference in your life, to get things done, and to improve your position. Whatever position you are in now, you know that your progress in life is going to depend on you taking some steps, taking some action, moving one foot forward. And as demotivated and difficult as life can be, and as we found this year especially, and we've all had our ups and downs, at the end of the day, it is up to you to take that action to get going. So take some comfort in the fact that you're on this webinar this morning, you want to learn these skills, you can go into this course here, and when it comes to getting into the world of work, putting a good CV together, putting a job application together, and then I talk about giving your best interview ever, being the standout candidate, That's most likely going to be an online interview. If it's this year, possibly, we'll go back to physical interviews, socially distanced, obviously. But that obviously depends on the employer of choice. And who knows, we may be applying for jobs where you may never have to go into the office. You may be applying for a job that you can do while you are at home, while you are working from home. So I teach you some of the things that you need to think about in terms of presenting yourself and showing up for that interview, whether it's in person or whether it's at home, and you're literally talking to a computer, and an employer, a prospective employer, is evaluating you based on your presence coming across on a digital platform. Okay, and then very importantly, in that first lecture, I actually give a demonstration of the Nova Resume tool. And the Nova Resume tool, actually Elon Musk uses this for his CV, not that he has to apply for a job, but he did once put his whole CV down in 2 pages, I believe, and he used this very same tool. I presume somebody did it for him, but I've used it previously, and I suggest that it's a very professional platform, a way of packaging your skills in a very concise, meaningful way. And I give about a 20-minute demonstration or a walkthrough of the Nova Resume tool. It's a website that you go onto, and what it means is that you don't have to worry about formatting, you don't have to worry about layouts on Word documents and all the rest of it. You really just focus on putting in the content, putting in your skills, putting in your experience, putting in your achievements, and it does all the formatting for you. There's a couple of different layouts that you can choose, but the nice thing is you click a button and then it rearranges the whole CV for you based on whatever format it is that you want to use. Now, if you are going through an agency, they may have a standard format, that's fine, but if you are putting your CV out to multiple companies, and if you're doing that yourself proactively, then I would certainly recommend that Nova Resume is a very useful tool for you to go in and have a look at that. And I show you my CV. I show you exactly what I put into my CV and how I've set mine up on Nova Resume. Then the second half of the course goes into boosting your career growth. And this is all about saying, well, you've now got into your employer of choice. And remember that you do have some, you need to be thinking about what it is that you want to be doing for the rest of your life. You may not have the same job or work for the same company for the rest of your life, but certainly the first, 2 or 3 companies that you work for are going to set you on a path that will have a huge influence on the rest of your career growth. And you have to be quite intentional both about choosing and applying at a company of your choice. And if you don't get it, then you must have a second and a third and a fourth choice thereafter. But once you've got into that company, it's only just beginning for you, and you then need to just really get your head around what it means to be successful at your employer. And that's what I teach in the second half. It's a bit longer, 5 lectures, nearly an hour, but I provide practical tips and techniques to boost your career. So the first lecture there really talks about how to brand yourself, how to position yourself, and you've now come in a job application phase, and you've got that job successfully, and now it's the real deal. You've got to step up, and you've got to deliver on that value proposition that you offered in the job interview process. So how do you brand yourself? How do you create an image around yourself that captures what it is that you have to offer as a colleague, as an employee, as a future manager, as a future specialist, as a future long-term employee in that company, in whatever position it is that you're going to start working for. And then I talk about some of the big breaks that I was lucky enough to get, and some of the mindset that I used to get those big breaks, and most of it really was just through hard work and resilience, and just understanding how work flows in organizations and how best to be a part of that flow of work in such a way that creates value, because ultimately companies are there to create value, whether it's an NGO or a company, commercially traded, or any enterprise or any initiative that is started. And maybe you're starting your own business. How you brand yourself is going to be intricately tied into the brand and the value proposition of your entrepreneurial initiative in broader society. So that's just, sort of setting the scene for how you set yourself up for career progression, either in an organization or as an entrepreneur, and creating jobs for other people. And if you do that, fantastic, and good luck, and please create lots of jobs, and bring people into your thriving business. And the second lecture there is just about how to become a master of time management and get things done. And I have another course in a lot more detail where I talk about achieving ninja levels of productivity and efficiency. And there's a whole series of techniques and practices there that I teach, and which I've learned in my own life, many of them the hard way, but which you might also want to have a look at. But in this course I go through your mindset to being an employee or in the world of work, and how you should maximize what it is that you want to get done with the time that you have available. And really, I guess it all starts with how you approach your day, how you think about your day. Are you good at making lists? How organized are you? How disciplined are you around your workspace? And once again, we're all either living at work or working from home. It depends on how you look at it. All those boundaries have been blurred between work as a physical concept and the rest of our lives, and what we do with those lives. And yet, in and through all of that, you've still got to maximize your time, and you've got to understand your pattern for how you get things done. I've got my pattern, and I talk through that in the course, and if there's anything in there that could benefit you, that's fantastic, but it's something that you need to develop and work on and build as a habit. And when it comes to being in employment and getting things done, an important aspect of that is to understand what is expected of you. Now, work will flow in an organization, and it usually flows downhill from the senior people down to the lower levels, and as you progress in your career, you'll be able to hand work down to other newer employees. The chances are, if you're starting out in your career, then you're going to receive work, and you really need to get into the right habits and the right ways of understanding what that work looks like, confirming and managing what the expectations are of you, and then systematically working through those and breaking projects and large pieces of work down into actions on a daily basis. And I talk about how in my own notebooks, you'll see in my notebook, I have lists. I make lists, and I put a box next to the task that I need to perform, and then if that task is done, I tick in that box that it's done. And if I can forget about that task, I put a line through it. And I've used physical notebooks. Yes, I lead a team of digital transformation at a large financial services company, but I still rely on physical notebooks. And it doesn't matter. You must choose whatever pattern works for you. And I teach you some of those good practices and good habits that you can adopt potentially for yourself to get things done. And ultimately, if you can get things done in the workplace, not only will you get more work to do, and you will get more and more important work to do, which will give you a greater opportunity to demonstrate your value as you progress through your career. But you will also then be able to structure and influence that work a lot more, and you will get more resources and team members to help you do that work. So you've got to really prove yourself at the detailed task level for being able to get things done, and then you will get bigger and bigger pieces of work that you will then need to deconstruct and break down and potentially delegate out to other different people and run projects over time to complete that work. It doesn't matter whatever industry or field or company that you're working on, these basic principles are the same for being successful in the workplace. And then the third lecture there is just about communicating authentically and managing conflict with confidence. You are, in the world of work, it gets pretty narrow up at the top, and you're starting to compete for limited opportunities and promotions. And, so I talk about how you just handle that with some authenticity, and how you operate as a team player, and how you overcome the natural tendency for there to be some conflict with your colleagues at work, especially when there is limited resources to go around. A company really works on the basis that it can make more than what it costs to run. So that's capitalism, and unfortunately it's going to come down to your efficiency and your value, so the companies will get more out of you than what they spend on you, and that's how you're going to climb your way to the top. But what that automatically means is that people are, competing for those limited resources in the workplace. And, the essence of what I teach is just to be consistent and authentic throughout your career. You will have some disappointments, and you will have some achievements that you can be proud of. And on average, hopefully those even out, and you have, a progression of your career. And then with regards to conflict management, when you go into the workplace, employers are very strict about managing conflict and about ensuring that policies of ethical behavior and so on are adhered to. It's no different really to being in a university, and being at school. We learn these practices of mutual respect and appreciation and inclusion and all of those good things. And I'm privileged to work at a company where those are extremely important, and I identify with them very strongly. And what that's meant is that even though, as I said, there's been in my whole career ups and downs, and in your career you'll have some ups and downs, on balance, if you step back from it and you say, well, you can look past a couple of weeks here or there, or a couple of months over there, because you've been authentic in your career growth, because you've been able to manage conflict, because you've been able to get the work done, your career progression, it may not be in a straight line. It's never going to be in a straight line. No journey is ever in a straight line, but you'll be able to take those detours in your stride as you go. And then the third or fourth lecture there in that last section is just working out how you can use your networks, how you can build relationships with coaches and mentors. And I sort of got a question there from Calvin, so I'll pick that up just now. Don't know if it's delayed in terms of when you saw the chat, but I'll certainly pick that up as a question at the end, Calvin. And guys, if you are hearing me now, then just put a question onto the chat, either about writing. We've sort of got 10 minutes left, either about writing or employability, and we can talk through those questions just now. So Calvin, I'll definitely come to your question there just now. But just on the point of professional networks, you need to build a professional network. You need to have a mentor. You need to have a coach. I've mentored maybe, more than 50 people, in my career, and I've often benefited from those relationships. And I hope that, in the time that I've mentored or coached people, I've certainly been able to help them with their career growth. And it's not an automatic ticket to success, but it does just mean that you have somebody else that you can talk to and rely on. And in the course I teach you how to choose a mentor. So there's a couple of obvious ones. Don't approach your boss's boss, for example. Choose somebody that's a little bit outside your team and maybe slightly more senior. You can't latch onto them. You can't be too close to them. You can't there's some things that you need to think about, and some principles that you need to look at to make sure that you're managing a relationship with mentors and coaches effectively. And those ups and downs that I spoke about in your career, those mentors and coaches, if you have a trusted relationship, is going to be very valuable for you there. Okay, so a couple of questions coming through, and I'll answer all of those questions. And then the last lecture in this course is on LinkedIn. So I do a demonstration of my profile on LinkedIn, and LinkedIn is an exceptionally powerful professional networking tool. So I spoke about just mentors and coaches just now, but your whole network, really very much like Facebook, would be your social network. Your professional network would be on LinkedIn, and I show you my own profile. So I log in and I show you exactly what I've done to set up and manage my own profile on LinkedIn, and how I connect to people and how I engage people, and how you can use LinkedIn effectively to manage your networking requirements. Okay, so guys, I picked up a couple of questions on the chat. So Calvin Smith just asked Peter just to comment on time management. I found that to do tasks properly, it takes me twice the time I initially allocated. Did you find this to be the case at one stage in your life? Yes, that is very true. And one should try and get better at estimating the effort it will take for you to complete a task. And there is always a tendency to underestimate that, because you probably have an inflated sense of your own skills, or you don't have a sense of the complexity or the issues that you'll need to overcome. And so while that is true, the best advice that I can give you, Calvin, to overcome this is back to those tasks that I showed you just now. The more you can take a project and break it down into discrete tasks, the better you'll have a chance of understanding the overall effort required. Because the lower the level of task, the smaller the unit of time it will take to complete that task. So when you write a task down, it should be something that's achievable. So we talk about SMART goals, so specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time-based. And if you can do that at the task level, then your overall projects, should be more predictable if you've applied that thinking at the lowest level, task level. And there's a couple of lessons in the course that I've been talking through this morning, and in another course that I have, I talk about the power of 10 minutes and how you can. Nobody has endless hours to focus on something. We all maybe have 10 minutes here or there that we can snatch to get something done. But really, what matters is how you organize yourself to maximize the use of those 10 minutes. And I think chances are, Calvin, if it's consistently taking you longer than you think to do something, then maybe just look around that task and understand how you're organizing yourself, how you're organizing your workspace to actually do the task. And it could be that you're spending time organizing yourself before you actually do the physical task, because often when you get down to doing the actual task itself, is fairly easy to estimate in terms of time, but it's all the things around it, all the setup. Maybe you've lost something, you're looking for something, you need to phone somebody, you need to send an email, you need to do something else before you can do that actual task. And all of those are the things that I think, Calvin, you talk about taking the extra time before you actually get to that task. Poncho's got a question there. Will this be available offline? Yes, absolutely. You just have to go back to exactly that same link that was sent out. It's on the YouTube channel. I would love it if you can subscribe. I put videos out every single day of the week with lots of advice for particularly students, and lots more information in each of the descriptions that you can go through and have a look at that there. So please do subscribe. It would be great to have you hook up onto the YouTube channel, and in the descriptions you'll see a link through to the Facebook group there, and we've got a very vibrant group there which is a lot more intimate discussion. It's a private members only Facebook group which I approve and moderate, and you'll really find it useful to get the encouragement and the support that you need from people who are in a similar situation. And then Pro Walenzinto asks, please share a link to these online courses on boosting career growth. I'd love to go through them later. What I'm going to do right now is I'm going to provide the free links into the chat group. So I put the first one there, and what these will give you free access into the two courses that I've spoken about there, and that will give you access into those to enroll for the next 3 days. So that'll take you through Tuesday morning, Wednesday morning, Thursday, Friday morning. So you've got until Friday morning to go in there and enroll. But as I said earlier at the beginning of this webinar, people that get ahead in life take action. So, as a result of this webinar, take some action and go and enroll in those courses and, go through those lectures and then leave a rating and a review for me. I'm constantly updating and improving those courses, and I would really love just to get your feedback in terms of those and anything else that you'd like to see. And if you join the Facebook group, you'll be able to suggest what courses you'd like to see, what videos you'd like to see from me. I really need the input from the community to understand what you want to learn, what it is that you need help with, what are the specific frustrations or challenges or goals that you have that you would like some help with. And the more that you've got access to people with the experience that have solved these problems, whether it's regarding writing or employability, which are the two topics that we spoke about this morning, that is going to be the key to your success. And whatever it is that you go on and do in your life, and I look forward to seeing all of you be successful, the single most important thing is to get the advice of people that you can trust and that you can learn from, and to help you and coach you to take action. And that's what I firmly believe is the ethos of our Student Success Coach community, and I'd really love to see you all engaged in those communities. So I put the free links on the chat. Please confirm receipt and working. And you can always get in touch with me on the Facebook group or on the YouTube channel if there's anything else that you need help with. I am also available for one-on-one coaching. What I do is I don't charge for that. I can't take on too many students, obviously, but we can do a 30-minute call and we can quickly talk through whatever specific issue it is that you're facing. And then I add you onto the group and we stay in touch, and you are more than welcome to just bounce ideas off me. I'm very responsive on WhatsApp, and I've been through exactly what you guys are going through at the moment, trying to be successful, get through university, get a job. I've been there, and I'm here to help, I'm here to coach, and I'm here to see you all have student success. Okay, so I'm just going to ask if there are any more questions. Any more questions? So please join the Facebook group. And join the YouTube channel. So I'll put some of those links up onto the chat as well, so that you've got that information, and it's going to be really easy for you to pop on there. And I see I've had a few people already coming through, which is fantastic. So I'll need to just approve your requests, but that's absolutely wonderful that we've had some people come through onto the Facebook group. That's absolutely wonderful. And of course, this live stream is on the YouTube channel, so by all means you just go and click that little subscribe button there, and you'll get regular updates and videos on there. So I think we're going to leave it there. Thanks to everyone for coming. I'll see you inside the courses. So I think we've come to the end now, and really appreciate the time that you've all taken to join us. And to those of you that are graduating and that the links work, Tanya, thank you very much for confirming that. So to those of you that are graduating, I think there's one or two of you this afternoon. So once again, congratulations, that's a fantastic moment. Please do post that on the Facebook group if you want to join. today, now, then you can post that picture, share that success with us. It's all like-minded undergraduate and postgraduate students on the group and on the YouTube channel. You'll really find it a wonderful community and a great home for you to, just to get the support and the encouragement and the advice that you need. And of course, from both of those, link into, the courses that I offer onto Udemy, and I'm always promoting them and discounting them and making them available for students. So, Calvin, yes, you could pop me a Facebook message. So if you want to pop into the Facebook group, Calvin, so I'm just going to answer here to Calvin, who's asked about getting the one-on-one coaching. So you can join the Facebook group there and message me inside the Facebook group. And by all means, Calvin, I'm very happy to have maybe 1 or 2 30-minute coaching calls. Yes, we can also absolutely connect on LinkedIn. I'm going to just pull that up for you as well. LinkedIn, yeah. So it's going to be fairly simple just to find me on LinkedIn. Just search for me on LinkedIn. It's going to be pretty easy to find me there. And then even from my profile page on Udemy, so if we just hop onto Udemy, you can see all the details there as well. And from there, that'll take you through to my website, to the Facebook page, to the YouTube channel, to everything else that you need. So, Lauren, it's an absolute pleasure. Lauren says thanks for your work and your passion. It encourages me to see that we're all still working so hard as students to write and to contribute, and we need you to be successful. We need you to make a difference in the world. I talk about this in my courses. The world is facing many challenges at the moment. We've been through a lot this year, and I firmly believe that the people who have the discipline and the work ethic to get through at an undergraduate and a postgraduate level also have the discipline and the work ethic to make the difference in the world that we need. So we want you to be successful, and I want to help you achieve that student success. So look forward to seeing you in future, and glad that you found this webinar useful, and I do wish all of you absolutely everything of the best for today and the rest of the week. So thanks very much for coming. I'm going to say goodbye to all now on the chat. So goodbye and thanks very much. Really appreciate the wonderful supportive atmosphere that we had as we conclude this University of Pretoria webinar that we've been conducting on learning writing and employability, where we went through some basic practices and principles for writing, and then some basic tips and techniques that you can learn about employment and boosting your career growth, and of course 2 courses linked to both of those, which I provided free access links for, that will get you up and running in all the detail and give you all of that one-on-one teaching, lectures, lessons, whiteboard lessons, etc., right there in the courses. So good luck with those, and look forward to seeing you all in the courses and on our platforms.